Hello, Christine. My name is Taylor. I will be doing your discussion board reply this week here, week four. I don't know about you, but I can't believe we're already in week four, almost week five. But I really enjoyed reading your discussion board post this week. Jumping right in here, I really loved how you talked about very specific things that human service professionals face as ethical dilemmas. I think something that people don't think about a lot of the time are kind of those big picture ideas type of ethical dilemmas. Excuse me, when you're not already in the field, when if you're just someone that has not worked in the field yet, is just continuing studies, it's hard to picture those big things, like you said, of short-term programs, insurance limitations, lack of funds. It is such a big issue, and it's kind of something that's very daunting to think about when looking at all these dilemmas. Insurance limitations, for one, is like such a big issue in healthcare in general, but also mental health care, because especially when you're getting into the private practice sector, like insurance really can be it's just such a big factor with any diagnosis or any way that we look at how to treat someone. And that even can be an ethical dilemma, because ultimately we're here to serve and help individuals, and insurance really should not be a benefactor to helping people, but a lot of the times it is. I just love, and the lack of funding is such a big part. When I worked as a day treatment counselor, which is essentially a school counselor in the schools, the funding was such a big part of that program, because the government is essentially was paying for my job, and we had to basically prove every day with these kids that there was a need for this job, and if they saw that there wasn't a need, they weren't going to pay for it, and then their job would be non-existent. So I also think it's interesting to think about how COVID has affected probably some ethical dilemmas. Even just going into a home, and maybe a healthcare worker not feeling comfortable with going into homes anymore with like in-home work or social work or something like that. I think that's interesting, and something that we'll probably think about for such a long time, since post-COVID. I also loved the story you talked about, you mentioning your personal story about working with your grandmother in hospice, and working closely with all these different facets of that specific area of, the pastor or social worker or the nurse or something like that. These are a lot of the times, these are just like real issues, even not as a human service professional, that even just as a regular person we have to deal with on a daily basis, with you caring for your grandmother. So I think it's things, obviously we are in the field of mental health, but we also just eventually have to deal with it in different ways just as a human. So that's interesting, because it doesn't just affect us even as human service workers, but it also affects us sometimes as just humans, day-to-day living. So I really enjoyed your post. I hope you have a wonderful week and keep up the great work. All right, thanks. Bye.